Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Geisert. I'd like to welcome you to the town hall meeting for our Safety for Nonprofits organization. So today we have a great program. Next slide. We have a number of presenters, in addition to myself opening up here. Really, the purpose of this meeting is to thank you for being a volunteer with Safety for Nonprofits, and also share with you some of our success stories in delivering services. And in particular, today we're going to feature two capstone projects from our university partners. And so we have speakers that will cover that. We also will cover the basic information about how to get started. Importantly, our volunteers oftentimes don't quite know where to start. They're a little bit unsure, so we want to provide you with that information so that you feel comfortable going out and knocking on doors. Next slide. So in terms of our different presenters, we have two case studies. Don Ellswick will speak to the capstone experience of the University of Findlay students this past term. And then later in the hour, Mark Wilson will be describing the student experiences with the capstone at Purdue University. Stephen Mazeros will then describe the tools that are available to all of our volunteers. You know, we're a virtual organization. We have no corporate office, no jet. We really don't have a travel budget, but we do have tools, and we have a common mission, which is to raise awareness about workplace safety in the nonprofit sector and help nonprofits in our community, however we describe our community, be better and safer. So then David will describe our collaborations. A lot of our work is done through work with the different organizations, and then our plans, and then Sharon will be closing out our meeting with a call to action and a summary. So again, tools, Stephen will review the tools, Wombat software. We also have a new tool with the safety handbook, which is a program builder. So it's a good program today. So please hold your questions, put them into the chat, and Sharon will be circling back at the end. Next slide. So really, our purpose is to raise awareness of workplace safety in the nonprofit sector, and then directly to help nonprofit organizations in our community, however we define that, as long as they're a 501c3 as defined by the Internal Revenue Service, then we deliver services to them. We're an all-volunteer organization, so our focus areas are really to help our volunteers, which includes those on this call and others. We have more than 300 volunteers. Stephen will be reviewing just kind of the status of that and some of the volunteer tools. And then one of our focus areas is to increase our reach and our impact by recruiting more volunteers. We have an ambassador from one of the ASSP local chapters, actually out of Oklahoma City, on the call today, learning how to participate and deliver services to nonprofits in their community under S4NP. And then, as I mentioned, the partnerships, we achieve a lot of our purpose through working with ASSP, AIHA, the other safety and health organizations that share a similar mission and purpose. And then one of our purposes also in terms of our organization is we're self-funded. We're seeking out sponsors, but also we ask for donations from our volunteers. So this is all part of sustaining the S4NP organization and delivering services. Next slide. So really, today's call is a call to action. We want you to know that you're empowered to deliver services under S4NP. When you've completed the orientation and the code of conduct, you'll understand what the scope of our work is and what the guardrails are. We're a not, we try not to be bureaucratic, but one of the key aspects of our organization is that we provide professional liability insurance for all of our volunteers. And we also work within a scope that is covered by our liability insurance. So we have a light touch to administration, and those on the call and those who are speaking can talk a little bit about the administration, the back office stuff, but we try to keep it to a minimum so that you can deliver the services and not get all tangled up in a lot of process. But there is an organization that is behind you and provides you that corporate coverage and umbrella liability protection that enables you to give back and do good. Next slide. So, again, maybe we just need to state the obvious about, why we volunteer, why would we do S4NP work? And first of all, within the nonprofit sector, there are a significant number of injuries and fatalities depending on the operations. So on average, I think you know that perhaps the studies by the Bureau of Labor Statistics and NIOSH have found that on average, every week there's a volunteer who dies performing nonprofit work, volunteer work. And in general, the nonprofit sector doesn't understand really this safety is within their responsibilities. So why would I volunteer? And first of all, we start on the bottom left, which is you believe in the mission of a charity, a nonprofit in your community. It could be animal rescue, it could be a homeless shelter, food pantry, it could be your kids' sports, soccer league, etc. But you believe in the mission of the organization, and you've been perhaps working with that organization, and you've noticed that they need help with their program. So this is one of the reasons why people would volunteer and actually deliver the services. And then being able to be part of the community, giving back. There's a lot of personal satisfaction. It also helps elevate the stature of our profession. And every one of our volunteers who's delivered services has commented about how it's helped them in their professional development. And it kind of helps them step outside their normal day job paradigm. So at the end of the day, it's really giving back and making a contribution to the community. So with that, I'm going to introduce Don Ellswick out of Tennessee, but clearly part of the University of Findlay organization. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Jack. And I want to say, first of all, that what this organization does is really enable nonprofits to function more efficiently. And the project with University of Findlay, and we're fortunate enough to have Professor Carl Habekas, who's really just vision and outlook for not only how to help these emerging professionals, but also help an organization. And I want to just start with what I call the bluff, bottom line up front. This organization, by the work that was done by Professor Habekas and his students, saved almost $15,000 in fees, training fees, consulting, things like that. That's an impact to the community. It's an impact to the entire region. And I just want to thank them for that. So, what they did, they covered powered industrial trucks, forklifts. They concentrated on walking working surfaces, emergency action plan, and really looked at hazmat. And as you all well know, that's the high risk. Next slide, please. So, how did they really do that? Once again, S4NP is the conduit to really allow these students to give back in their community. And we did that by, the compliance assessments, working with, the leaders of this organization, and really just collaborating between the university and students. And it opened up, training results that you can see there where they did classroom instructions, hands-on. They did some train the trainer. They really delivered what I'm going to tell you is a professional consultation that this organization even went to their state organization with Habitat and said, look, we had this done, and their state was amazed at the work the students did with Professor Habakos's direction. And some of the key recommendations you can see there, they did things like that we know protect lives. We know with powered industrial trucks, as I always say, they're not training Navy SEALs, but again, this is a life critical. And they developed pre-check inspections. They did how they were going to do removal. They talked about OSHA training, but also they won the hearts and minds. They also talked to the employees and the people that volunteer about how important these assessment findings, housekeeping, exit routes, emergency, fire extinguisher access, just really did a great job of winning the hearts and minds. And trust me, the students, exactly what we want to do as emerging professionals, we want them to learn how to do this, but they also help this organization. So go ahead, next slide. Or and I got to show you here. This was part of that experiential learning. We always talk about it, and universities talk about it. Here you can see they not only located, evaluate, verified accessibility. They talked about the annual inspections and the monthly inspections, how they could do those better. They talked about maintenance, and they did observations and talked about where they're located, how they could work. The students really encouraged them to get with the authority having jurisdiction and work with that local fire department to even make it better. And even they were able to recommend some vendors in the area that would help them with some of their maintenance that maybe were needed on some of the fire extinguishers. Next. So again, with that review, they looked at tags. So they not only talked to people and improved it, but they did the physical condition, tamper seals. They discussed this discrepancies. Their report was incredible. I mean, the students, I got to tell you, the report they did with the help of Professor Habakos really enforced why emergency preparedness is so important in this retail warehouse environment. Next slide. And of course, with the public coming in, and we know the liability there, but also just downright protection of their customers, so important. And they not only evaluated exit routes, talked about slips, trips, and falls and how they could prevent those. This is in Ohio. They do have snow. And, they talked about how to keep everything available, how to mark things, and then why it was so important to reduce that risk. So the last slide. And with that working surface assessment, they really observed any curling on the mats, if the mats were moving. They actually used an organization that is much like ANSI. It's the National Floor Safety Institute, and a lot of safety professionals and OEHS people don't even realize they are the recommended for assessment. So the students not only use that great resource, but left them with checklists that they can go back and ensure they're staying in that. And we know slips, trips, and falls in retail are one of the highest, I'll say risk that not only customers, that employees have. So go ahead, next slide. And here you can see Professor Habakos with a couple of students, and notice the gentleman on the right is the manager of the Restore. He was so pleased with this. He every time I'm in the area, and I know Professor Habakos has heard from him, he just sings the praise of S4NP and how the students really were able to help them not only make their organization stronger, but let's face it, S4NP, if you've not done this, go by your local, whatever learning institute you have there, have them partner with a nonprofit, and it will pay dividends not only for you as a volunteer, but you'll really contribute to the future of the OEHS profession. So, with me done, I'm going to pass it along. Go ahead, next slide. And I think now I'm going to pass to Mr. Crawley, I believe, correct? Am I right there?
No,
Okay.
I think I've got this there, Don. It's Steve Mazaris. How are
Okay,
you doing,
Steve.
everyone?
Steve, let me go ahead and turn it over to Steve. So go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Don. And I'm always so impressed when I hear that story at Finley. It really engaged our executive committee, Nancy, Dave. Don was super supportive. But to see that engagement from the students, but the faculty and the leadership there at the school. And what's great to hear about this story is that I guess it's really nice to hear that they're going to keep the program active and going further on with the next group coming through. So to that point, I mean, S4MP has been growing. We're well over 300 people signed up, and we've got great penetration across the U.S. But even beyond the borders here, we've got a strong presence in Canada. We've got people registered from South Africa to India. And even today, I saw in the chat that we have someone online from Saudi Arabia. So it's just really great to see this kind of engagement. The way we're structured typically is we have 5 state programs: Arizona, California, Colorado, Ohio, and Massachusetts, but also covers a couple of the adjacent New England states. And then the rest of the country, it's such a big territory. So Jack, referred to it. We have that virtual kind of approach, and we have the virtual program to kind of pull the others together. So one of the ways, if we go to the next slide, that we leverage and kind of keep people connected is our relationship with Wombat Software. They were actually one of the very first volunteers that signed up. The people at Wombat had a vision to kind of give back. They had been in the software business around health and safety for a number of years, and they worked with us for almost 2 years to kind of develop that software. Now they're commercially using that software and making it available to consultants and companies, but they've offered it pro bono to S4MP, and it is a key part of our, platform and how we operate. So if they go to the next slide, I mean, that partnership has just been critical for us in helping manage our onboarding process. So one of the very first thing is when a new volunteer comes in, they get a letter from us, and that kind of brings them through an onboarding program, a couple videos that give them the basics of how the program works. But most importantly, it kind of provides us a place where we have good documentation control on that training. They're able to sign off on their code of conduct and other critical documents that are part of our liability, insurance coverage requirements. And then that also leads us to providing a way that we can actually document engagement and share very important things across our network. So, we actually have a library and a documentation center in that app. And all of the great work and best practices are kind of posted there. So we can leverage and replicate, as we go forward with good work that's been done. But as new things are created, it provides a great vehicle for us to kind of really kind of create a one-stop shop. Now that software can also be used by the nonprofits that we're servicing. They can use that to actually engage their employees or volunteers and set up their own program and use it there. Wombat has offered that free pro bono service to any nonprofit that wants to use the same platform. Next slide. So we talk about some of the great work that's been done, and if you go into our library in our documentation section there, you'll see some of the great programs that have been put together. We had understanding the back over incidents, and you may think it's pretty lame, but like so many people get hurt involved with vehicular incidents, and backing up and people getting pinned between vehicles or larger vehicles backing up over them has become such a big issue. Jack mentions that there's, a serious critical injury in the nonprofit sector daily and or weekly, and it's quite alarming when you see those kind of stats. And this type of incident is pretty common across the nonprofit sector. We also have some other great programs that have come up to, come healthy, stay healthy, promotional activities. We also have a food safety awareness programs in there as well. And one of the newest things that's coming down the pike, if you go to the next slide, is going to be the new safety handbook. And this handbook is just a fantastic tool. I'm so excited to see how this has come together by the team. And it's just going to be a real great way for volunteers to kind of have a one-stop shop to go to a handbook and immediately be able to use that as a tool to engage nonprofits they're servicing on various critical topics that we cover. And it is kind of like the A to Z guide. So with that, we've got a short video we'd like to kind of share with you before I pass it on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Meg Hummel. I am a Safety for Nonprofits volunteer and Colorado State Representative. I volunteer to coordinate the building of the safety handbook here. And so I want to introduce you to it a little bit, but first and foremost, I want to thank there were many significant contributors who wrote full sections or did complete rewrites and gave lots of great contributions. These include Bamik Amin, Jeff Stump, Steve Young, Dave Rice, Abby Hine, Brett Mulligan, and Sharon Schindel was our board member coordinator for this project. So just a very quick overview. The handbook does have a section on how to use it, so please do read this first, and so that you know that you're applying it appropriately for the Safety for Nonprofits organization that you're supporting. And as you can see, there's a few numbers of steps to how to use the handbook, so take a look at those. And then the table of contents here, I know it's small. We're addressing many safety topics in this handbook, and most of them are fully developed programs that you would plug in information specific to your nonprofit organization. There are a few topics that you see noted high hazard overview only, and please note the directions on how to address that. I hope you find this document to be useful and to support you and your nonprofit clients. You'll find this document in Wombat. Thank you.
That just is a super little video that kind of really just gives you a basic introduction. But when you get to this handbook, I think you will be impressed because there's a lot of talented people that got involved with this and really have come up with a nice tool. And again, it'll be right in your palm of your hands, right in the Wombat app or software, and easy to use. So that's the best. So with that, I'd like to pass the baton on to Dave Crawley, and I think he's going to take us back through another great example of how we're engaged with so many different organizations across the Safety and Health Network.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, as Stephen indicated, we do have a lot of great connections, collaborating with different organizations. Stephen has talked in great detail about Wombat and how they help us, but there are several other organizations that are out there that enable us to have our reach. ASSP certainly is one that's been with us for several years now. BCSP, AIHA, ACGIH, ABSA, and OSHA. Yellowbird is also one of the professional collaborations that we have as well. Go right ahead, Sharon. Next slide, please. As far as those collaborations are concerned, I would like to speak in detail about our partnership with ASSP. We did have a memorandum of understanding signed. We're in our second year. That memorandum of understanding is 3 years long altogether. As far as the activities are concerned, it really gives us an opportunity to educate safety professionals that are members with ASSP. And ASSP serves as an advocate to advance worker safety, volunteer safety within the nonprofit community. It's great to have that backing from ASSP. And as time goes on, we have more and more activities with the local chapters. So that's great to see. Next slide, please. As far as BCSP is concerned, likewise, great partnership with them. They've given us the platform of communications by hosting webinars with them. And, you know, overall, BCSP follows the concept of making the world safer. And this is one thing that is a direct hit with Safety for Nonprofits, making the world safer in the nonprofit community, particularly. One new wrinkle with this that's been developed is to have capstone projects for those schools or universities that have a qualified academic program, or QAP. One of the requirements are that students are to be expected to put together a capstone project. Where that comes into play with Safety for Nonprofits, as echoed by Don Ellswick at University of Findlay. And shortly, we'll hear more from Purdue on projects where students got involved. Beyond that, it's also a double plus sign for those that are credentialed through BCSP, where if you participate in a project with Safety for Nonprofits, it's eligible for certification maintenance points. This is key. If volunteers live in a remote area, they can't make it to meetings, or maybe they can't go to a PDC, professional development conference, virtually, you can be connected through Safety for Nonprofits and participate in a variety of different activities, as echoed by Meg when she talked about the safety handbook. So that's all great and a benefit for our volunteers to be able to take advantage of that connection with BCSP. Go right ahead, Sharon. As indicated, we do have activities that have taken place out there. Our Gary Gurman, it's out in California, had activities taking place at the California State University in Fullerton. You know, yours truly and Kathleen Donlinger, we were present at the ASSP Professional Development Conference. Again, raising awareness, hopefully gaining some volunteers as we have these activities. And then on the right-hand side, you can see Meg there, the co-lead, along with Jeff Stump, proudly exhibiting at the AIHA RIMS Fall Technical Conference. We do have some activities planned into the fall here. And certainly if you're a volunteer, there's an opportunity for you to get involved and help get the message out and gain additional volunteers so that we can make a difference in the nonprofit community. Great. Sharon, next slide, please. Okay, well, I am going to hand the microphone over to Mark Wilson, who's been great down at Purdue in Indiana to help us out with some projects that were led there. Mark, all yours. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Dave. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Wilson. I'm a clinical assistant professor at the Purdue University School of Health Sciences in their Occupational and Environmental Health Sciences program. And just this past semester, we partnered with Safety for Nonprofits for a capstone project for our graduate safety management course. And we actually partnered with two different organizations within our local area, the Lafayette, Indiana region. We had 6 students in this course, and so we divided the students into 2 teams of 3, and each team partnered with a different organization. And Dave and Howard were kind enough to serve as point contacts, kind of the virtual point contacts for each group. And then Jennifer, who's on the call, helped us on site, which was extremely beneficial for both the students and the partners. So the first partnership here is the Humane Society for Greater Lafayette. It's a fairly large organization that receives, all of the animals that come in from animal control within the county. So they have to deal with, not only dogs and cats, but really any animal that comes in: horses, pigs, chickens, whatever animal control needs to bring in and house. Is going to be at the Humane Society. And so we did an on-site visit with our team of 3 graduate students. The main focus, after consulting with the director of the Humane Society and also with the students, we decided to focus on chemical safety and ergonomics. So the students were able to do a full tour of the facility. They looked at all of the chemicals that were used on site for cleaning and sanitizing the area, as well as laundry detergent that's used. The facility actually has 2 on-site rooms where they conduct their own laundry, or they do their own laundry. So over here on the far right is kind of the main laundry room for the main kennels, and they have 2 full-size commercial washing machines and dryers. And they do a lot of laundry every day to clean the bedding material and toys and so on. And so our students looked at those chemical handling, chemical labeling, also the ergonomics of how to handle the laundry. As you can see here, there's a lot of laundry that they're having to load and unload from the washing machines and transport around the facility. So the students did a really great job of making some, very well thought out recommendations, including some adjustments perhaps to some of these, poly trucks that they used to transport the laundry, maybe having a little spring-loaded device in those trucks to raise the laundry so that the volunteers didn't have to bend over and grab, heavy blankets from the bottom of those totes and load them into the washing machines. And also looking at the food storage for the pets. The Humane Society receives a lot of food. They receive food by the pallets. So they receive pallets full of dog food. And that food has to be transported to the kennel area for distribution. So the students were able to make recommendations for how to handle that pet food and transfer the pet food from the large 40-pound bags into smaller bins that were then moved into the kennels to feed the dogs. So very, very good recommendations and a very professional job. I was really, really impressed with the students and the thoroughness in which they conducted the evaluation and the professionalism when they talked to the executive director during the debriefing session. All right, next slide, please. All right, our second partner was a civic theater of Greater Lafayette. So it's a very different organization. And so this is a community theater group, a nonprofit with a budget that's pretty tight, like most nonprofits. And you can see us here on the left. There's myself and 3 graduate students. The backdrop there, that's their shop building. So that's the back wall of their shop building where they build sets for their productions and also store props, costumes, and all of the chemicals that they use during production. Paints, solvents. Civic Theater has a lot of chemicals on site, as we can see in that picture on the right. So a lot of paint, even flammables. They have propane, lighter fluid. They have a lot of other flammable cleaning chemicals. And so we had some storage concerns on how the chemicals were stored, and the students did a really nice job of recommending how chemicals should be stored in flammable cabinets for those chemicals that were flammable, and also making sure that compatible chemicals were stored and that they're taking into account chemical compatibility when they're thinking about where the chemicals are located within the site. The second component was a life safety project. So they also did a life safety code inspection. So again, very professional job, and the students were very excited to work with the partners. And I'll say, as an additional benefit, the students thought that they could continue working with the partners as part of our OEHS student group. So even outside the classroom, the students want to continue to engage with the community partners, which was really a great idea. So I'm looking forward to the start of the fall semester when the student group gets back together and we can re-engage with the organizations and help maintain that relationship. All right, and I will pass the baton on to our next speaker.
Great, Mark. Thank you very much. Aside from Mark, who, by the way, is the facilitator for the student chapter of ASSP at the university, he was boots on the ground. And in addition, Jennifer Lee, who's an ASSP member and graduate at Purdue. Jennifer, you're on the line. Can you offer any additional words on your experience, your involvement in the projects there at the school?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a Purdue grad, so and local to the area, so it was a really awesome opportunity for me to work with Mark and his students. It was a great opportunity to learn more about the organizations in my own community and really understand the work that they do and the safety challenges that they're facing. I echo Mark's comments about the professionalism and the engagement that the students had with the organization. So that was really awesome for me to see, knowing that these are up and coming safety professionals, in our field. So I think Purdue and Mark, they're doing a great job at prepping these students. I was really impressed with the quality of their observations, the recommendations throughout the process, and making those realistic, those reasonable recommendations for these organizations. It was also nice for me as a safety professional to provide that guidance to them when needed, based on my experience in the EHS, especially as they looked at those focus areas. So one thing, and couple key takeaways that I had for anybody who might be considering helping out with a university with this is to really keep that scope focused on the nonprofit's specific needs. Focus on a few narrow areas as to not overwhelm and make that scope too big, and to really understand that these nonprofits often have limited resources. So really understanding those specific needs is very important. So it's great, a great experience, and I hope I can continue working with them.
Great, Jennifer. Thank you very much. Mark, thank you for all that you've done. And we'll hopefully continue our relationship moving forward. Just to recap, the QAP reference to BCSP has really come from this activity. Word of mouth hit BCSP and heard about the project activity and capstone projects there at the university. So hopefully this will catch on like wildfire. For others that are on the call, if you're an ASSP member, it's not a requirement to connect with the school. Your local chapter can form a project with volunteers locally, or as indicated, if there is a school nearby, great, your opportunity. With that, I think we're going to hand it over to Jack Geisert for the call for action. Jack, all yours.
Actually, Sharon's going to wrap it up.
All right, there we go.
Well, thanks, everybody. I'm Sharon Schindel. I'm the Arizona team lead and also a member of the executive committee and board of directors. I think you've had this slide up for a little while since I forwarded it early. But really, yeah, we're trying to always make sure we're reaching more volunteers and nonprofits. So please, our currently only social media is LinkedIn. So follow us there and spread the word. But most importantly is if you are involved with a nonprofit or you know one that can benefit from our help, letting them know that we are there for them when we exist and that we are pro bono, making sure they understand we're not selling anything because nonprofits get a lot of sales pitches. So really just try to spread the word. As always, we always need some funds to continue to operate. We need the financial support of volunteers and sponsors. I'll go over the sponsor program in a minute. Our fundraising goal for this year is $15,000. That money really goes basically to cover the liability insurance for you, our volunteers. We have never made any claims whatsoever, but as we know, insurance just gets more and more expensive every year. And then we have the occasional legal filing fees and marketing and association fees. And that's really all our expenses because we are 100% volunteer-led and organization. So if you have an opportunity to donate or you know somebody who's looking for a nonprofit to contribute to, please consider donating to us and spreading the word. Really, the call to action is for you, our volunteers, to identify a nonprofit in your area and approach them to offer support. It's not always very easy to make cold calls or feel like you're a salesperson. I think it's a lot easier if you're already involved with this nonprofit or you have a connection to it to just bring it up while you're there. But start small. Just suggest something small that you might be able to help. Develop a brief draft scope. Make sure you contact your S4NP authorizer, which is your executive committee member or state lead, and make sure that it's okay to cover us from the scope is appropriate for us. There's a few things that we are not going to be doing because they're too high risk, but most nonprofits really can benefit from what we can do. Just like you saw in the last couple of presentations of what was done with the students and those nonprofits, we're a lot of times talking about stuff that really, I think, very common for us as occupational health and safety professionals, but is not necessarily obvious to folks who are in the nonprofit business doing whose expertise is somewhere else. And we can really make a difference for them. So once you're authorized, if you need additional S4NP volunteers, we can. As Stephen was mentioning, we've got almost, I think, 350 people. So if there's an area of expertise that's needed that maybe isn't in your immediate area, we have also recruited directly to our volunteers to do some virtual support. So if what you need is somebody who's an expert with fire systems or knows more about workplace violence prevention, we can try to recruit and get you some support that way. Anybody who wants to volunteer does need to complete that orientation and sign our code of conduct to make sure we're covered by the liability insurance. As I mentioned, we've got our S4NP sponsor program. Where if we do have a organization who would like to provide us financial support, we will acknowledge that at the different levels. that are here. We've recognized them on LinkedIn at our events, and we've got the gold, silver, and bronze level. So if you know of an organization or a person who's looking to do a little bit more support, please let them know. As far as our plans, really, it's pretty much what we've talked about from the beginning. We want to continue to grow our client base, deliver services. We want to continue to introduce S4NP to our local professional organizations, grow our volunteer base, and continue to grow our S4NP technical toolkit. So if anybody has any ideas of the next kind of technical project we should take on now that we're completed the handbook project, please let us know. You can always email us at info@s4np.com. And so if there's an idea of something you think would be helpful to have as a toolkit, let us know. So really, wanted to kind of open it up at this point to some discussions. If there's something that you need to help volunteering, or you have questions about how to get started, let's talk about that now. Go ahead, Howard.
Well, I'm wondering if I can give it a real life example of how our model works. We just acquired, some new potential clients, and it started with me attending a conference on community emergency response. I volunteer for a couple of the greater Boston area units that are involved in emergency response, and so I went to this conference, and it was a Massachusetts VOAD conference, and VOAD stands for Volunteer Organizations Assisting in Disasters. There are VOADs in just about every state. So I went up to the presenter after she talked about disasters shelters, and I sort of innocently asked if there are ever any accidents during these events. And she said, "Oh yeah, definitely." And I told her about, I kind of anticipated what the answer would be, but I told her about S4NP and what we do, and asked if we could help with the safety aspects of some of this emergency response. And she invited me to speak at a meeting of Mass VOAD, which resulted in them asking us, S4NP, if we would like to join Mass VOAD. And it also led to a couple of actually 3 or 4 of their members. But I should say that their members are comprised of nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and government organizations that get involved in disasters, fires, forest fires, weather events. But anyway, just by virtue of me presenting at that meeting, I got sort of inquiries from some of their members, including the Massachusetts Red Cross and Salvation Army, and an organization that's involved in animal rescue. So this was a real example of just how engaging with some of the organizations that you may be volunteering with, leading to potential for S4NP to get involved and helping these organizations.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I think that getting involved in giving a presentation at some of these kind of nonprofit aggregators or groups is excellent. I'm going to be giving a presentation here in Arizona in August at the nonprofit aggregator we've got here, which is called the Arizona Impact for Good. And actually I talked for a whole hour about nonprofit safety, so I had to gear up and create a long presentation and then use for other stuff. And I know we've had, I think it was Meg that went to the Rotary and gave a presentation to them. So there are a lot of opportunities to try and find nonprofits. So at this point, I want to say thank you. Again, you can contact us at info@s4np.org. Always visit our website, check it out on our LinkedIn, and we look forward to working with all of the volunteers and nonprofits in the future and expanding our scope and making sure that the people who give back aren't getting hurt while they're volunteering. So at this point, I'm going to stop the recording. We can still hang on and talk if we